Sitting that, you're going to get a Roy solo today. Stephanie's out again, had some things to do on that. So, no, for all you YouTube fans that tune on to Make Up with Stephanie, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to have to wait till next week. Probably to where we're going to find out who's president of the United States, maybe. As we keep going. Oh, it's a 2020 fun. I mean, you're just a barrel of laughs. Like I said, anything that can't happen will happen in 2020. Let's see if we can do that. Are you off your phone call, Dwayne?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we're loading up on Skype. We're getting ready to do Facebook Live and Twitch.
You're already on Twitch.
Oh, I'm already on Twitch. I got to figure out how to get myself on Twitch. I didn't even know what. We're broadcasting on it. I have no idea what's going on there.
Okay, I'm about to start in 2 seconds.
That okay. That's my new thing. In case you haven't really, have you ever been here when I started the drum roll? See, that's your first time. Jesse's in here doing that. Stephanie's out today, had some things to do. Still not used to not having the mic before that. We've been testing it a little bit. The only one on Skype was when Dwayne was on yesterday, and we're going to bring him up in a minute on that. He was saying that the sound quality was, but most people on that have been hearing it audio across the deal have been gone doing with the lapel mic here. So we're going to give it a try again and see if that, and we're going to see if we got our issues fixed up on that. Here again, we're coming to you on IE Newswire on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, as we do every live at 5 every Monday through Friday, and I think I fouled that up, but hey, would you expect a professional announcer running the program here? But it's been a chaotic week. We still don't know. We still don't have a definitive answer on who's president of the United States on that. It's still stuck on nobody's at 260, nobody's at 270 yet. It looks like, and I'm giving it a Joe Biden a 9 in 10 chance he's going to be president. I'm giving Trump a 1 in 10 chance at this particular point on that. Just from mainly the numbers are not looking bad. He's really going to have to start he's really going to have to start proving in court his fraud allegations or in my opinion, lay the cards up on the table as in yesterday, or this thing's going to slip away from him. That 1 in 10 chance is going to be 0 in 10. But as I aforementioned, Dwayne from Idaho's on. What's your take on it?
I'm going to stand by my original statement. I think Trump will prevail, and I know that we pretty much anticipated a fight from the Democrats with the only option they know, which is dirty boxing, and so let them box. You know, this time, fortunately, the Republican Party has a street fighter leading the way instead of a Casper milquetoast like you had with Mitt Romney. So he wasn't popular. Trump was. I mean, last I heard, the big problem right now is Michigan illegally counted votes. And the evidence is that the Michigan law states that any interested party that wishes to observe the vote counting is allowed to. They barred several people in several locations. They're in violation of state and federal law. So, and according to Mark Levin, who is a constitutional lawyer, also on the radio, they have violated several federal laws, and they're in a pickle. So I can see this going to the Supreme Court. I can see the Supreme Court ordering...
Well, let's just stop right there.
Okay.
Justice Alito has stepped up and ordered the segregation of the votes that came in after Tuesday's election per their law, and he's giving them till 2 o'clock tomorrow to respond, or the Democrat Joe Biden, or I guess Democrat really, because who's ever, or election officials, I guess it would probably be the proper term of ones to respond by 2 o'clock tomorrow, which again was kind of and a lot of people have agreed that was a failure of the Supreme Court not to pick that up, I think, a week and a half ago when the issue came up, when they changed it, because their laws, and the states got a lot of latitude in making their own election laws. There's really no mandate in the Constitution of how you do it. It was kind of left up to the states as long as you have equal protection under the law, yada, yada, yada. The states pretty much can run their deal. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's law was at whatever, 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock on Tuesday, November 3rd, that was it. And no other ballots were counting. And then a judge said, well, no, if they're postmarked, they can come in 3 or 4 days, yada, 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 yada. Two things, and I know you were in Riverside County at the time, and I think it was back in 2005. We fought this same deal with Riverside County. And they've let some of the Trump people in. I mean, they flat would not let any of us in and observe what was going on at the elections at the elections board in Riverside County. I mean, and that was back in the machine days, and everybody suspected a lot of shenanigans, fraud, vote loading, and everything going on at the time. And the judge finally...
Those are two separate issues, though.
Well,
one is do you have, and you most certainly do have a right in every state to observe the vote
what
counting.
I wanted to get to was the court never, because of that particular issue just in California, the court never overturned the elections. They just went, okay, on the next elections, you got to fix X, Y, and Z and not do this. So I'm not saying that's way that we'll go now, but that argument in Riverside County basically did not turn any votes or anything back in the day when it was used as the same thing. Go ahead.
Right. But I think it's somewhat of a conflation of two issues. You've got the issue in Pennsylvania where a judge said it was okay to allow votes that arrived after the cutoff date. That is a violation of federal vote law. And I'll try to share this with you as quickly as I can. The federal law says the states do in fact have the right to make whatever laws, as long as it's fair and equitable, in regards to voting. Right. But they also must follow said laws. They don't get to change the law midstream, which is in fact what they did. Which was the violation.
Yeah, and which was the big thing. Why didn't the Supreme Court, when it was appealed by the Trump administration, when the Philadelphia or Pennsylvania judge, whoever he was that ruled against, or said, oh yeah, they can bring the ballots in, why the Supreme Court did not pick it up at that point before the election and make a ruling on that, or get this, because it was like a week before the election, they just let it sit there. Well, now, a week after the fact, how do you go back and fix that?
Well, I'll tell you. My opinion is that the Supreme Court is reactionary. They very rarely want to overturn anything, including a lower court's ruling. They oftentimes refuse to hear significant cases based on the fact that they don't really want to enter in the mix. And also, you have to look, there is a mechanism that has been working for over 200 years in this country that up till now has worked fairly well. This is the first time there has been obvious, let me backtrack. It's the first time we're going to do anything about an obvious voter fraud attempt. And that's what this is. Look, you don't go to bed at 11 o'clock at night with Trump having declared almost victory with over 300 electoral votes, wake up the next morning and Joe Biden's leading. I don't care how many votes are counted. They had plenty of states already counted by 11 o'clock Central Time to give Trump 270 plus. Now, all of a sudden, these magical ballots come in after several of these states in four key areas, and we talked about this earlier, Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta Metro. Interestingly enough, these are the areas that are responsible for overturning this entire election. They're all Democrat run. All the secretaries of state are Democrats. They're all in highly suspect areas. When you look at the counties surrounding these areas, they're redder than blood. It's just these little pockets. And isn't it interesting that in Wisconsin, we get 130,000 votes, 100% of them for Biden. And in Michigan, we get 100,000 votes dumped, 100% for Biden. A statistical anomaly for sure. I'm going to say of the lowest probable order possible. So the fact that I believe it was in, you're going to correct me. So I won't even say it. One of the poll counting places refused to allow anybody to come in, and in fact, boarded up the windows so that nobody could film it or watch it. Now, last I heard, it was perfectly acceptable to take one of the many bricks that were available for Antifa and smash windows whenever you didn't like what was behind it.
I'd be curious to see where the link is to that, because not disputing it, but you hear on the dominant media, well, Trump's not showing any evidence of this, or it's not true, they were allowed some people in, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I tell you,
Trump's not putting it out, or the Trump campaign's not saying, hey, over here in Madison, Wisconsin, look what happened.
Well, they've got to get all their ducks in a row. And of course, they've got to lawyer up, and they've got to present this. You know as well as I do, it's all from here on out, it's all going to be a procedural chess game. Okay? So if you, and I agree, the sooner the better. So make the lawyers earn their money for once. Let's get let's get all of the effort in one direction. Let's get all the evidence and lay the cards on the table for the American people to look at. Then give it to the Justice Department at the same time and let them deal with it and back out of it. What he should do, in my opinion, to be fair, is to say, here is our evidence for everyone to look at for themselves. We are handing this over to the Justice Department. We'll be filing a brief with the Supreme Court. And at this point, we are not going to concede the election until the investigation is over with. And just be done with it. And sit back and don't do anything else. Now, that will be probably the world's hardest problem for Donald Trump, because he absolutely cannot stay off Twitter. But it has served him well in the past. Yes. And I'm not here to tell the President of the United States how to win the ball game, because obviously he knows better than I do.
But no, it is, and he actually does that. I would kind of disagree. I think he's got to run it on 2 points if they're going in that direction, because again, there's the court of law, and then there's that sometimes even more important court of public opinion. And if you don't win the PR war of this or get the attention, and kind of going back to my Riverside County example, they said, you guys got screwed out of it, but that's the way it goes. Well, maybe we'll fix it on the next one, and that's the way the ball bounces. And mainly because there was not enough on the PR side of it, or enough horsepower behind. It was just a bunch of us grassroots that were out there hollering about this. And it just kind of, it's kind of, these crazies are out there, and they shoved it down the road enough. But, it proved out the crazies were right. But, again, it was like, well, okay, these went wrong, again. So I would disagree in this part. If I was running the strategy, I'd be beating the drums of it and saying, hey, this is what I would be showing evidence of, a boarded up window and people standing outside demanding to get in, and they're not being let in, beating on the door or whatever we want in. Now that would I think that would garner some attention and start, people asking questions or saying, hey, what the hell's going on?
Well, so I've heard several interviews throughout the day, obviously, with people that claim to be eyewitnesses. Um, they, I believe it was in, I'm going to screw this up. In one county, I thought it was Clark County, possibly, but don't quote me on that because there's been so much information forthcoming. It's hard to keep the scorecard straight.
Right.
But in one instance, there was 7,000 miscounted votes, and they have counted them again, and they labeled them Biden, and they were mostly for Trump. And in fact, it actually flipped one of the seats. So it wasn't Clark County. It was one of the areas where they flipped a congressional seat. So it does, in fact, there is certainly some significant evidence, whether it is enough to warrant, Georgia's already an automatic recount because it's too close. And the Secretary of State there is going to recount it. Now, I assume because it's a recount, all eyes are going to be on the table from both camps, and it's going to be highly scrutinized. And I think we are going to see Donald Trump most definitely take Georgia back. And I do think that if we can crack Pennsylvania and get the law on them and do some due diligence in Pennsylvania, that we are going to see Trump win Pennsylvania as well. And I really think that Michigan and Wisconsin are going to follow suit. I think at the end of the day, what you're going to find out once we're done with all of the legal chicanery that's going to be necessary to try to beat us to the date, and remember the magic date's the 20th of January, when Her Highness gets to appoint herself president for a day and elect Joe Biden. We've got to get this done before the 20th of January. Or the other option is get the Supreme Court involved so that they put a stay on the election because of the fraud, allegation, and say, we're going to extend this for a period of time until the Attorney General's investigation can be forthcoming. And so we will suspend the election until that time. I can see the Supreme Court doing that, and I believe there is latitude for them to do that. But I think the better idea is to just come out with the evidence, as we've talked, present it to the Court of Public Opinion and the Attorney General. And I think, I know you and I talked about this, and at first I disagreed, but I think we're right. I think we need somebody that's in the president's camp. I think he needs to get Bob Barr out of there. Bob Barr moves at the speed of mud in wintertime. He's not going to do anything fast enough. You need somebody that's going to be an attack dog. Put him in that position, get Bob Barr out. We've heard for years that there's going to be indictments. There's going to be indictments. There's going to be indictments. All of this stuff come. Oh, it's going to wait till after the election. Well, why does it need to wait till after the election? If it's that important, don't the American public have a right to know who are these officials to play with our electoral votes and the electorate at large? So the system's flawed, obviously. Your best shot's probably going to be going to the Supreme Court and getting a stay and getting a suspension but you're going to have to have some serious evidence to present to the Supreme Court.
Exactly. And that's going to take a lot of shot. Want to get to that because let's just make the assumption, right now that it stands as it is and the board wipes out and Joe Biden's president, yada, yada, yada. And why the Georgia recount may not change, and even if it does, let's just say it flips Georgia, but he still carries Pennsylvania and Nevada and Arizona just for the heck of it. That might be the recount, and Georgia being close might be because Sonny Perdue, the sitting senator from Georgia, is now under the 50% mark to avoid a runoff. And
right.
Those two, and one of them retired in Georgia, so both Senate seats in this election are up in Georgia, and the other one is, got 23 candidates in it, so that one's definitely going to be a runoff. But it looks like the balance of power in the Senate is going to shape up on the determination on January 5th when the top two candidates, which look like they're going to be a Republican and Democrat on that, are going in that. And just assuming that Biden's in, and it looks like Pelosi will, the Democrats will still hold the House, but with a narrower margin than they did the last time. Two things. This is going to be the two most expensive Senate races in the deal. But what I'm saying is if the recount puts Sonny Perdue back at 50% plus, then you already have one guaranteed hold Republican seat in Georgia, and you're only fighting one. But if they both go to a runoff, there's always the potential you could lose. If they lost both of them, it would be 50-50. And with Joe Biden and Kamala as vice president and president of the Senate, they have the, she would break any tie, so they have the majority. So we could, even of the stuff, so the recount in Georgia may not be important on the presidency, but if it avoided a runoff in one of the two seats, that could be key to guaranteeing the Republicans are holding on to the Senate.
I can see the strategy there, and certainly there was a well-known pundit that I dislike, and I'm not going to mention his name, but you know who he is, who said, in fact, that it was going to come down to Georgia.
Yeah.
And that Georgia was going to be the key state. And, you've got, and if I'll play devil's advocate with you. If you do get that, and you get a Democratic majority legislature and executive branch, you are going to see a gutting of the American economy like you have never seen. The very first thing everybody should do is pull everything out of their 401ks and go buy gold, because the stock market will go straight down. And they have already told us that we are going to be locked down wearing masks in perpetuity because the little garden gnome says so. And that's what they want. It's about control, and the whole thing's been about that. I have one individual who has recently told me through a third party that he has come down with the China virus, and it is the only singular individual I know that has been infected. Now, I don't see the hysteria, and we've already talked about that, and Kelly Victory and the other doctors are far more competent in these things than I am. But nonetheless, there's a reason why all this came down the way it did. And when you get, if you were to get that majority in the legislature and the executive branch, the only thing you've got left to stop it would, in fact, be the Supreme Court. And I am not confident, because the office of the presidency has enough power to surreptitiously rule as they want. You look at the fact that the executive order signed by Obama for the DACA plan could not be overturned by the current president. Now, as far as and the Supreme Court upheld this and said no, because your motivation is not good. Well, his motivation is irrelevant. Either the office of the presidency has the authority to make this ruling and sign this order, or they do not. In which case, then all of the presidential orders need to be negated, and we need to start over. Or they all need to be accepted. You can't be, it's like being pregnant. Either are or you aren't. There's no little being pregnant. So I think that's flawed, and you might see that revisited to the Supreme Court now that you've got, hopefully, some right thinkers in there. And again, I'm about following the Constitution, not voting for R or D or I or any other thing. I want to follow the Constitution.
I just want to say the financial advice is Dwayne's and Dwayne's alone, and we do
Yes.
not necessarily agree
No,
with taking all your money out of the 401k.
well, okay.
If
all
you go
have to
broke,
do-
I just wanted to put the disclaimer off in case somebody does that, and then they come back and say, "Well, you said of that."
well,
But no, I
they'll
get
be-
your
they'll
point
be the
of
smart ones.
yes,
Because-
I get your point of that of what's going on the stuff of going on and again the worst case, and again the whole Georgia thing and Georgia turning blue per se like I discussed with Melissa and Murray yesterday. Now you're going to have two, because I think McSally conceded today. So you got two Democratic senators from Arizona. You got a majority of the congressional representation of Arizona, 5-4, is Democrat. Now it looks like, possibly Trump could win it, but he's going to have to really pedal hard. But it looks like, as of now, Biden is still leading in the count in Arizona, but it's going to be razor thin. If Trump wins, it's going to be like, 100 or 1,000 votes at most. So, I mean, and she disagreed with me that I said Arizona's a blue state now, 100%.
Well, I heard what she had to say, and I have this observation. We are being told it's becoming a blue state. We are being told that Georgia has become a blue state by the very same media that will not investigate any allegations of fraud in voting. Not one single.
No, I'll tell you what, Arizona, Georgia, and Texas will be the next to fall. You're becoming a blue state just like California did. LA and San Fran control the deal. We out here in the hinterlands are like whizzing in 100-mile-an-hour wind. And now Atlanta, Georgia is doing the same thing to the rest of Georgia. Phoenix is doing this to the rest of Arizona, just like Nevada is right now, has done. Clark County is doing this to the rest of Nevada. And it's soon, going to be Dallas,
told.
Texas, and Houston, and San Antonio and Austin are going to do to the hinterlands of the rest of the people in Texas in like that. And you're going to see a lot more dominoes fall.
Well, that's certainly a strategy that I think's at foot. They have exported people into the large population centers. Like you take the states of Oregon and Washington, everybody that lives outside of Portland and Seattle is 90% conservative, yet they can't seem to field a conservative candidate. Now, I will come back to what I said earlier. We have been told that these are blue areas and that the blue invasion is happening. Now, if, in fact, this is, as I suspect, mostly due to voter fraud, because they've done it over time incrementally so that it looks more plausible with the exit plan from California of a lot of people as myself, then certainly you can make that case. But I think it's the former. I think that it is mostly voter fraud in these areas. I contacted two people that I know that are in Arizona right now today that live there. One lives in Bullhead, one lives in Prescott. And I said, look, I want to know what's going on. They say it's BS. They said there's like maybe one Biden sticker in the whole place. And I said, okay, well, what about Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff? They said, no, you go down there and it's all Trump flags everywhere you go. The rallies were huge in Arizona. I said, well, how did McSally lose by such a huge amount? Why is, well, they're suspecting voter fraud. So it is most likely that this is going to uncover.
I just want to get to one of our commenters. He said there is no fraud. Judges are, that's Christopher, judges are throwing out all the injunctions requested. I would remind Christopher, Supreme Court Justice Alito just ordered Philadelphia to respond and is making them segregate the ballots that came in after November, after the polls closed. So that statement that judges are throwing out all this stuff is appears to be incorrect, because they are doing it. The Supreme Court is retaking a look. They didn't pick the case up, as I believe they should have, a week ago or so when Trump first filed it, but they didn't throw it out either. It was sitting on the table. Supreme Court Justice Alito just picked it up today and said the election officials have by 2 o'clock tomorrow to respond to this. So it isn't necessarily over, and I'm not saying, I'm not giving it like I'm saying. I'm giving Trump a 1 in 10 shot of pulling that off. But I think he's, in the courts, especially in election law, has been my experience. It's a big crapshoot to get them to overturn everything of that. It's just like, that almost never happens. Not saying that it can't, but it's a pretty darn big long shot of what's coming on, so we shall see. But again, until Trump concedes or a new president is sworn in, it's still, until these election results are certified, it's far from over on this thing. So
1 minute.
I think here's
about 30
idea.
seconds, and we're going to go to KMET.
I think if anybody's going to do it, the guy that's holding the office right now has the highest probability of doing this.
I agree with that. Trump is the guy. If there's a president ever that will push this hard, it's going to be Donald J. Trump. So we'll see with that. Hang on here. We want to do the Skype test on the video, and you're going to love. I want to get your reaction to the video.
30 seconds
off of the other side, because
okay.
If you don't talk about it, and I've talked about the dominant media and the transition they have made from the news reporting division to opinion to basically it's all opinion. And
here we go, 10 seconds.
Phone apps. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
Following is a pre-recorded program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
That funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday at 5:30 on the Mighty Met KMET 1490, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire. And we're still joining our audience on the World Wide Web and on the social media networks, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube on that you can pick up us on IE Newswire and that. Dwayne from Idaho is joining us today. Stephanie is out. She should be back Monday, back ready to rock and roll. And I'm sure we'll have something to talk about by Monday. We still don't know who President of the United States is. Nobody has been declared, or nobody's been able to pull the trigger yet or say that they were at 270. Neither candidate obviously has conceded yet, so the situation is still fluid up on the deal. Joe Biden is supposed to have some sort of event, maybe coming up at 8 o'clock Pacific Coast time, of that. They're setting up the fireworks and that, and of that, if they get to 270 from the reports I'm hearing, or somebody calls it that way. If not, he's going to make a little more subdued statement. So a couple hours we'll know one way or the other, 2.5 hours we'll know one way or the other on the Biden situation going forward on that. But I want to play this, and we talked about the dominant media of things of that, and here is the Anderson Cooper on CNN yesterday on this. He is the one that, he is supposed to be the reporter that gives you the straight news as we're doing this, whatever time he comes on the deal. But this is what Anderson Cooper had to say on CNN yesterday.
That is the President of the United States. That is the most powerful person in the world. And we see him like an obese turtle on his back, flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over. But he just hasn't accepted it, and he wants to take everybody down with him, including this country.
That was Anderson Cooper right after, it was after the Trump press conference. I think he came on about 4 o'clock yesterday. About this time yesterday, he was on, he had his press conference of that and addressed the media. And I want to get your reaction from that to get him up on the, from that, I mean, you're supposed to be a newsman, and you're supposed to represent yourself as that, and you're not part, supposedly he's not part of the opinion, political, or whatever team. You know, he's reading the news copy, supposed to be a reporter, a journalistic neutral, and makes a statement like that. What's your take on that, Dwayne?
Number one, anybody that works at CNN is irrelevant. So it really doesn't surprise me, because the supposed dominant media has done nothing but attack, assail, criticize, no matter what Trump has done. And they have been poised for this day so they can have their victory lap. And finally, we're done with Orange Man, and we can move forward with that superlative individual, that great world thinker, Joe, where am I at, Biden? That's their solution to.
Come on, man! Can't you get
right.
on board?
That's their solution to their own created illusion of problems. You know, they came aboard and told us that this was a systemic racist country. They came aboard and told us that everything that Donald Trump was racist and that he was a bigot and a homophobe. They told us that all of us that voted for Donald Trump were a basket of deplorables, and we were evil people, and we were white supremacists, and on and on and on. So why would you even want to listen to Anderson, the little
I wanted to, Jesse, pull
turd
that
trooper?
back up again and run that little clip again, because I want to make a point. This is the point I want to make on that.
He's just a
Dwayne.
snarky little turd.
Go ahead and roll the
President of
Anderson.
the United States. That is the most powerful person in the world, and we see him like an obese turtle on his back, flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over. But he just hasn't accepted it, and he wants to take everybody down with him, including this country.
So that's Anderson Cooper again. The Anderson Cooper and the crowd that has lectured us that Donald Trump and most every straight white male is a bully, the evil of the world, uses all these derogatory terms, has our thumb on on us. They have caused every ill in the world and use this terrible language, and they belittle people all the time, and blah 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 blah. Now, okay. You called whatever, obese turtle wallowing in the ground, yada, yada, yada. Now, is that not very disrespectful, bullying language of anybody, much less the President of the United States? Which, whether you like him or not, if you are sitting in that role that he's trying to project, and the image and the saleability that the Anderson Coopers and the Joe Bidens and the Kamala Harrises want to sell us, you're using those type of terms where it's all right for me to use them, but when Donald Trump or Dwayne or Roy use those terms, we are evil, sadistic bullies, yada, yada, yada. It's do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, of course. And their lack of professionalism does not belie their true nature. These people are hateful, spiteful, vindictive. They cannot stand, they would rather burn this entire planet into a cinder than let another side be successful. And you cannot argue that until the COVID hoax, this was on record and on path for having one of the most prosperous times since the 1950s. It, in fact, exceeded a lot of the wealth. We had people able to use savings to go take a vacation for the first time in 30 years. That used to be part of the American experience in the 50s. It was expected for the average family to go take a vacation every year. And that has since been erased since the Reagan era. To a certain extent, it was in the early end of the Clinton era, but, because they had such a roaring economy. And of course, Biden will, of course, take, if he were to win, will, of course, take all of the credit for any success in the economy. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think, in fact, you already saw this, and it was predictable. The stock market kind of took a little hit today, went down 66 points. Not a big deal. It's gone down, up and down more than that. But you will see a nasty trend as soon as they start rolling back things like, if they were to get in power, things like gun confiscation and all the giveaway stuff that they're going to do. And we're just going to, take from the rich to give to the poor for equity, from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs. Well, that's right out of Marx. And that's what they want, supposedly. They are unabashedly socialists. And people like Anderson Cooper, who's a lackey. I mean, he is known to be a CIA. The CIA's got plenty of people in the media. They use it to control public opinion. And we just really were talking about this yesterday. There's another individual. I'm not going to mention his name because at first I listened and I'm like, I'm going to listen to this again. And because it was kind of an off the cuff thing. And I mentioned it to you and you said, I'm going to look at this. And then I looked at it again and I went, you know what? Nah, I'm not buying it. So I'm not going to regurgitate what this individual wants to disseminate. And the easiest thing for us to do is to react to somebody like Anderson Cooper, when in fact he's irrelevant. What we need to do is, instead of wasting time with Anderson Cooper, we need to go find those people that were denied access to ballot counting, that have been wronged in some way.
I want to go to this point here of that, because Carla writes in, sorry, no bully, meaning Joe Biden, because Carla's been one of Joe's biggest supporters. We're going to have to pull together, Jesse, you need to put me together the clips. I remember the one, I'm going to wrap the chains around your head, from Joe Biden quote. Threatening a 70-year-old man that I'm going to whip your ass, basically. If there has ever been a bigger bully, or let's just say an equal bully, if you want to classify Donald Trump as a bully, if there is his equal on the Democratic side, his name is Joe Biden. And that is who you're supporting. So again, your argument of, we're getting rid of Donald Trump, he's mean, he's bad orange man, he's mean to us, he uses bad language, he belittles people. The guy you elected does it just as much as Donald J. Trump. And probably...
Well, I want to ask her a question, though, and hopefully she'll respond. Is she aware that years ago, I believe 15 years ago, there was a news reporter that had a sting operation for child molesters, and that Joe Biden was caught attempting to lure an underage girl?
Well, you got any substantiation on that?
Oh yeah, I believe it was CBS, and it was a well-known anchor. Yes, just look it up, do a search. I'm not gonna, I've seen it several times. He was caught, and he backpedaled and did his, come on, man, I'm not gonna talk about that horse shit. You know what?
Watch the language.
This guy is a lying, sadistic child molester. He has made several, you got to go back to some of the things this guy voted for. He had 47 years and his record sucks. I just challenged this person that's a Biden supporter. find out about your candidate before you blindly come on here and tell us what a wonderful human being he is. If he was wonderful, I'd have voted for him. If he was going to do the right thing for this country, I don't give a damn if he's got a D, an I, an R by his name. I would vote for him. I don't care about his gender or his personal proclivities. If they are going to uphold the Constitution and help this country, they get my vote, period.
No, and I'm
This
waiting.
guy-
I'm looking at the comments. I'm waiting for Carla to respond because Joe Biden has a 47-year track record of being a bully in politics. Just notwithstanding, no, and I'm not talking about the whole China Hunter Biden and all the whatever that. I mean, just as a personality and the way he has approached people, and he has done the same. Or if you're accusing or if you're upset about what Trump has done or his personality, then it becomes back to the deal. Is that the policies you want? You want the policies of a communistic Marxist society because that's the difference. The personalities of Joe Biden and Trump are the same. Go back and watch.
It's coming back to me. I believe it was a Dateline special, Dateline NBC. Jesse, do a search for this. I'll find it and send you the link, Roy.
Yeah.
You need to play this on your show. I thought for sure you had already done it.
I might
This is-
I
This
might
is
have
Joe
seen it.
Biden getting stuck in a sting operation, and the guy says, "I'm so and so from Dateline NBC, and we're talking to you about this." Joe Biden got caught. They had emails of him talking to a young girl. His screen name was suggestive. Okay, they caught the guy, and he gets a pass because he's Joe
Again,
Biden.
we'll have to try and find that link of what's going on to make sure that was
Please do.
Yes, of that. So when we go to that, but that's what I say. I mean, notwithstanding that, I mean, wrap your head around the chains and threatening the guys and acting like a big tough guy and all that, and using the
Well, you
language
notice
and
he
stuff.
didn't do that to somebody like you or I.
Well, yeah, of course. Or when he's got 87,000 people behind him at a deal of, when he's got the, his guards or that stuff of that, he's a tough talker on that. But again, if you're going to be fair, and you're going to be that, Joe Biden has the same personality traits and used the same language or tones or everything that Donald Trump has. So
How many times did he say he wanted to take Trump out behind the gym and whip his butt? I mean, more than once. Okay, and this is a stable guy. This is the guy, you say that Trump's unstable. Okay, you know what? I don't agree with everything Trump says. I don't agree with everything Trump does. On balance, he has done very well for this country. Joe Biden has done nothing successful except make a lot of money for himself and his family.
Or sell us out to the Chinese.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was really good at, well, that's where they got the money from, was brokering the deal to the Chinese. How in this day and age, this guy is not indicted and in front of a federal grand jury having to answer questions when you have the evidence. You have his own words on video saying how he used the authority of his office to extort and coerce a foreign official from Ukraine to fire the attorney general of that country because he was looking into his son's dealings. And he said, if you don't fire him, you're not getting the money. And what was his reply? Well, son of a bitch, they fired him. That was at a meeting at the CFR. And if you don't believe me, the lady that's a supporter of Biden, do yourself a favor and be honest. I would be honest with you. If Trump had said something like that, there was no way in hell I would have voted for him. Now, if you've got some proof like that, I'd love to see it. Because if Trump's a dirty pool player like that, I want to know.
Yeah,
But
Diane
you know what?
just writes in and again, and that was the point I was going to make. Okay, Carla, you're saying, oh, Trump, we've had 4 years of that, we're getting rid of him, yada, yada, yada. Well, we've been hearing it from Joe Biden for 47 years because that's how long he's been as a elected or pretty much elected official, and that has been his career, and he has had that. You want to talk about a racist? Go back, and if that's your definition of racist, that anybody that's got their knee on your neck, Go back to the 94 crime bill that Joe
Yes.
Biden pushed, was the head leader of in the Senate to get that through with Bill Clinton as president and a Democratic Congress. And you know what? That was one of the things that brought Newt Gingrich to power and the contract
Yes.
with America. And you know what Bill Clinton did and Joe Biden after that? And I don't know, well, I'm pretty sure Joe Biden did. I know Bill Clinton did. After Newt became Speaker of the House, he reversed course on, or he expanded this stuff on that, and they went after the real criminals and put them in jail where they should be. Not
And
trying to throw them out like we are doing en masse in California today. And we didn't even vote to fix 47, the bad aspects of 47. What the problem is, and you can boil it down to California, or that, and I say is the cancer of California. There were some good aspects of 47 and 57. There were some bad aspects of it. We had on a ballot proposition, Prop 20, to fix the bad aspects where they basically were just turning criminals loose. Cops would arrest them, you would turn them loose because there's nowhere to put them. The crime is a misdemeanor, the criminals are laughing. We could walk into store, steal $949.99, and there's basically nothing you can do about it. And you know what that does? That raises the price of goods and services to everybody that buys things in a store, and that includes just about everybody. And I don't care if you are a homeless vagrant. You buy stuff at the store. It's raising the prices on you, and you know who that hurts the most? The lower
poor people.
end of, yes, the lower end of the economic ladder, because it is more of your percentage of income that's paying that. You know what? The rich man doesn't care if you jack prices up 3 times or 10 times or 100 times more than they are, because he's going to be able to afford what he wants. It is the ones who are taking the opportunity and the bread off their table are the lowest, in the most percentage is the lowest on the economic ladder.
And I have to make another point. We have heard from the Anderson Coopers of the world what a racist Donald Trump is, because he built a wall. And these people have come along. They don't want walls. They don't want sovereignty. They want, no wall, no USA at all. Well, Barack Obama didn't do it. Bill Clinton didn't do it. But Donald Trump permanently funded black colleges in this country. Now, if he is such a racist, why did he do something that Obama, who was half black, and Clinton, who was really our first black president, neither one of those did that? And how is it, if he's such a racist, he got 26% of the black vote this time?
Yeah, and as Diane pointed out, Kamala Harris, when she was trying to look tough, when she got elected as Attorney General of California, was the one that had the knee on their necks. She was the one that was locking up those that or a lot of people, or those few ding-dongs are protesting about. It was Kamala Harris that will probably be, as it's looking, probably be the first, and we can get into that later. We're getting close on time. We got about 3 or 4 minutes, but it looks like today, and most with old Joe in there, if he gets elected, Kamala Harris is probably going to be your first woman president of the United States.
Well, certainly. Joe Biden's health is well known. He's got health problems. It's inevitable with age, and I don't, I actually have empathy for him. I think it's kind of embarrassing that the Democratic Party would take somebody who has an advanced medical condition, as Dr. Kelly Victory said, and parade him out there as somebody capable. It just goes to show that the real fix is to push a radical like Harris in there, so they know they can't get her voted in on the top slot, because she didn't even maintain anything above single digit after just a short period of time. So they put her in as VP thinking, well, that's kind of the snooze spot. Well, yeah, but when you put somebody that's already got their head on the pillow in front of them, it's kind of a logical progression. And everybody saw that. And I think that actually spurred a lot more people to go out and vote because of their dislike of her and seeing that Joe's physical condition was not optimal and that he is certainly going to have some episode. He's already had a couple. Then she takes over and she gets to select a new vice president. And who's that going to be? Cory Booker? I mean, I mean, we're living in an insane time, man. And we got to hope that Trump, being the master chess player that he is, has got a checkmate move still left in it.
Well, and I don't know that. We only got about 3 minutes left, but I want to throw this out on the table of that. And I said maybe 2020 came along because we needed that to, to show what was going on. You got a choice cut in the sand. So the way I see it in 2022, or coming to the 2022, if this stuff keeps up or goes south sideways, like I'm anticipating, if it comes like that, I think you're going to see a big, hopefully it will be like a 1994 Newt Gingrich contract with America, and they come in but this time, not just Republicans. You need to cut the party labels and stuff. You need to get freedom and liberty and free market candidates in. I don't care what. Let's ditch this party stuff. I think once and for all we need to I think the Republican Party needs to go away, especially in California, but probably nationally. We need to come up with a movement that's coming up that's looking out for the people. And
I agree.
And we're not going to tolerate a bunch of yo-hos that are going to tell us one thing and do the other, or play the political game, or sit in the swamp. We need to start backing the Mark Meadows and all of those on top of the deal that were with the Freedom Caucus, the Tom McClintock's of this world that were in Congress, the Rand Pauls that are sitting up in the Senate, which, I mean, he ran for president against Trump and disagreed and agreed, but he said, he stood up there when all the stimulus stuff's coming, there's going to be a big bill to pay for this, be careful be careful of this stuff, and,
yep.
It's going to be a big, hopefully, maybe, and this is my optimistic part of it, hopefully this will be the shot that wakes up not only America, but wakes up a lot of those in the center to the right that have been going along, or the best of two evils, or this or that, or you've been or we got to vote for this, or we got to do that, or da-da-da-da-da, or concentrating on a bunch of stuff that isn't going to work. Get down to the fundamental principles, start with that, and then work out. Not try to fight every battle that's on the scope. Get your freedom, liberty, and opportunity back, then worry about all the details of filling it in. You'll go much farther with that than trying to, extrapolate all this back and forth, and I hope that is. Got about 15 seconds to wrap it up.
Trump's going to win. It's going to take time. He's going to have a move. He's going to have a move, and it's going to surprise a lot of people.
I hope you're right. I'm not giving that very great odds, but we shall see in the next month or two how it plays out. Thanks for sitting in on the co-host chair today, and Dwayne on that. Really appreciate it. Stephanie should be back in on Monday, as we do, and we kick off the week. And there probably won't be any news that we'll be able to talk about. We'll probably sit here and just have stand here looking dumbfounded. What are we going to say? Ha ha ha. We'll be back on Monday with that, and